operate?
Well, Mark, in a decade where we've seen a remarkable and irreversible mainstreaming of corporate social responsibility and sustainability concerns, we have found some of the biggest companies and some of the toughest industries in the world are much more amenable to the concerns that our shareholders have had for many, many years. So we see companies across the landscape of a number of industries which may not meet all of Calvert's traditional environmental, social, and governance criteria, that nonetheless are making significant commitments and progress, whether it be on environmental protection or climate change or labor rights, human rights, gender diversity. And we've decided that it's now time to offer to our shareholders the chance and the choice to invest in companies that may not meet all of our criteria, but we think nonetheless are good investment propositions and companies that are open to positive progressive change.
So, for example, we have now, for the first time, I think, a socially responsible mutual fund that's investing in oil companies like BP and Shell and ConocoPhillips, GE, which is in the nuclear power business, and Walmart, which has labor issues.
Right.
How do you justify that to your values-driven shareholder base? What do you say to them? Why are you in those companies?
We justify it easily. First of all, we're not investing in companies that produce certain types of weapons or tobacco or alcohol, even in this new fund. Secondly, we make a promise to our shareholders and to our stakeholders that we will undertake advocacy, indeed aggressive advocacy, with each and every one of these companies. So when it comes to a GE or a Walmart or a BP or a Shell, those companies are now Calvert Holdings just in this new fund, but we have set forth very specific objectives with each company, and we are fully transparent and accountable to our shareholders. At calvert.com, you can see the specific advocacy objectives that we've established with each company. We've already started dialogues with senior management with 15 of these companies. We've been able to engage thus far with senior level executives, usually direct reports to the CEO, and thus far the quality of the engagement has been excellent. But the proof of the pudding will be our ability to help influence these companies to move further in what we think are reasonable directions on climate change, environment, governance, diversity, labor, and human rights.
So give us an example, a specific or two, on what you're asking one of these companies to do. There are about 15 you're focused on.
Sure, a couple of quick examples. One is Walmart, a company that's made remarkable commitments and progress the last several years on recycling and environmental protection, especially energy efficiency across its supply chain. It has not made sufficient progress, though, on labor and human rights, where it's had problems in the U.S. in particular. So that has been an area that we're focusing on with Walmart. Take the examples of BP and Shell. Both companies have made investments in renewables, but we don't think enough. Even BP, which has been the industry leader in wind and solar. So we're challenging both companies to increase their investments in alternative energy. Other companies such as ConocoPhillips, we're encouraging to start investments in alternative energy since they really haven't gotten into that business yet. So we'd like to think that the objectives that we've set forth for these companies have two merits. One are objectives which are desirable from an investment point of view, objectives which, if achieved, would help these companies address some of the biggest, most significant risks and opportunities that they face related to sustainability in the 21st century. The second merit we'd like to see in our objectives, we hope our shareholders see and the companies see, are objectives which are potentially attainable. We're not asking for pie in the sky, unrealistic commitments. We're not asking a BP or a Shell to get out of the fossil fuel business by 2020. What we are asking are much more significant, aggressive investments in alternative energy so that hydrocarbons can be a diminishing portion of total production and output. So we hope that our objectives are challenging to these companies, but we're determined, though, that they're realistic and potentially attainable within several years.
Seems to me the old SRI model was one that said, you know, there are good companies and bad companies, and we're going to give you the good ones and stay away from the bad ones. Am I right in saying that this new model looks at more shades of gray?
It's exactly right. And as corporate responsibility and sustainability have become much more mainstream, we've seen progress from companies even in some of the toughest industries, like oil, gas, and mining. And it's very important, Mark, to see our point of view, which is that while there are some companies that do a better job than others in addressing environmental, social, and governance issues, and our analysts at Calvert do a terrific job in identifying and analyzing just those companies, that at the same time there's no such thing as a perfect company. The issues that companies in virtually every industry face are increasingly complex, global, and demanding. And even companies with the best of intentions and strongest commitments can and will make mistakes. At the same time, some of the companies that have been the biggest laggards until recently have now become emerging leaders. Walmart and GE, probably the two most obvious examples of companies that just within the last 4 or 5 years have really come out of almost nowhere to stake significant claims to leadership around some certain issues. GE around renewable energy, Walmart around energy efficiency in its supply chain. So we are seeing those greater shades of gray, and we think that this new SAGE approach offers our investors the chance to walk into a sort of sparkling gray zone, if you will, where we think there's some real opportunity and excitement to improve further the performance of these companies and make a good investment bet at the same time.
Great. Thank you very much, Bennett.
Thank you.